Welcome back to another episode of Grace, Grit, and Grounds. There's a moment before every turning, before every project really gets started, when the world gets still. It's just me, the wood, maybe the hum of the lathe, waiting to really start. And I just think about the projects that I'm about to make, like a block of wood that's really a bowl that waits and wants to be born. Some of the pieces I have come ready to go. Others, well, they make you fight for it. This morning, as I prepare, I like to just stare off into my backyard and enjoy the cool of the morning. It's fall, and it's cool here in northern Kentucky. And as I prepare to begin this project, I think a little of my history, of why woodworking has become such a passion and something I enjoy the most. I think it comes from my father. He had a passion that was never fully realized when he was alive. He enjoyed woodworking, but due to a couple heart attacks and some other issues, he was never really able to fully get into it. After he passed away, I looked for a way to connect to him, a way that I could spend some time in silence away from the television or radio or the screens, away from the stresses of my regular work, a way that I can maybe try to be close to my God, close to the memory of my father. And I took up wood turning. I can't say that I've gotten particularly good, but it is something that I incredibly enjoy. Every piece of wood is its own unique piece. Every piece that I pick up, everything that I try to prepare, like right now as I'm putting a faceplate on a piece of cedar, it's a project that I'm not yet ready to work on, but I know I'm going to do it soon. And by getting it ready to go onto the lathe, I think it's going to be something beautiful. But it may just as well to blow up in my face. I've had a few pieces like that. I'm reminded of my God. I'm reminded of Isaiah in that beautiful passage in chapter 64 where he says, "We are the clay and you are our potter. We are all the work of your hand." I think about each piece that I turn, and I think about my own father and the connection I have with him every time I turn a piece. This morning's going to be no different. I wanted to do something different with this espresso shot. I wanted to give you a piece of me, along with a piece of scripture. I wanted to show you the things that move me, the things that draw me closer to God, the things that I feel are almost holy. There's something sacred about the sound of a lathe running. There's a steady hum, a rhythm of it, if you will. When my chisel hits the wood for the first time, there's a resistance as my steel meets the wood. Every turn of the chisel reveals something hidden in the grain, but not without a fight. The wood resists the hands that shape it, just like we resist the hand of God when he starts carving away what doesn't belong. Every bowl blank starts off as something rough, just a block of wood, much like the Padauk that I have on the lathe now. But inside it is a bowl waiting to be formed, to be revealed. To get there, though, the chisel must cut deep. The wood shouts back in splinters and shatter. That resistance isn't failure, it's formation. When God shapes us, he's not sanding for comfort. He's turning for character. Every catch, every tear out, every stubborn patch of grain is a moment where we fight the change he's trying to bring. We want to stay square and solid, untouched, but the master knows the roundness we were meant for. Jeremiah 18, 1 through 6 has a bit to talk about on this subject. One of the questions that God asks Israel is, "Can I not do with you, O Israel, as the potter does?" When I think about the potter and I think about the clay, I often think about the work that God is doing in all of us, that shaping and growing, that need that He has to create in us something special, and how we resist His movements and His work. The tools matter as much as the wood that's being shaped and the craftsman that's doing the shaping. Here I'm using a smaller shaper with a rounded end. I'm trying to get the bottom just right now that I've brought it into round. I'm about ready to work on the interior part of the bowl, but I have to get the bottom just right. And as I'm pulling through, this is not an easy tool to use, and if I'm not careful, there it goes. It hits just wrong, and you notice that the whole block starts spinning awkwardly. I wonder how much my life is like that, and how many times the master's tool has hit just the right spot that was resistant just enough, that caused a gouge like that caused it to not be right. It took time for the master to pull that block of wood off, that block of wood that's me, and put it back on in order to try to fix the mistake that I caused in my desire to be resistant. Notice here that I have to put away the smaller tool and go back to the big one, because the damage is going to take a little bit of time and a stronger tool to fix. And as I'm preparing to fix the mistakes, I think about the wood and I think about the master. You know, it doesn't just hurt the wood, it also hurts the master. There is a cost in creation. Personally, as I've been shaping wood, I've been hit in the face by blanks that have shattered at 2,900 RPM. My hands have bled, my knuckles have cracked, the tools sometimes dull faster than I can sharpen them. Creation always comes at a cost. Something that I have to remember: as a creator, there is a cost. The master doesn't walk away from the wood that resists. He leans in. He readies his hands. He takes the hits. That's the kind of love that we have, the kind of love that shapes us. It's not distant or detached, but it's hands-on. Those hands are scarred and steady. Reminded of a passage in the New Testament where it says, "By his stripes we are healed." Christ is the wounded craftsman. The shaping is mutual. Our becoming costs him something very real. This is one of my favorite parts as I'm getting into the nitty-gritty of the bowl. Before this moment, when I'm working on the outside, I'm just trying to make it round. I'm trying to make it to where the rough edges have been smoothed out. Now I'm in the interior of the bowl. I'm carving out the center. I don't want to go too deep, but I don't want to go too shallow either. If I go too deep, then I run the risk of blowing out the bottom or the sides. If I don't go deep enough, then it's not really a bowl. Actually, it's just a handle holder or something other than that. It's not as pretty. It's not as it needs to be. And as I'm shaping, there is a resistance. This is the hardest part. This is the part that everybody looks at when they first see the bowl, when they pick it up for the first time. I brought a young man into my ministry a few years ago, the son of a friend who was looking to go deeper into ministry and felt, for the time, called to work with youth. And I remember bringing him in and showing him some of my creations, showing him the bowls that I was making. And I showed him how when the center of the bowl gets a little difficult, as you can see here, you can see some of the little rough marks. It just isn't quite right. And it takes time sometimes to get this right. And you have to stop periodically and check and see, how deep are we going? Is it too deep? Is it not deep enough? I still have a little more space to go, so I'm going to try to go just a little bit deeper. I'm going to try to make this bowl look as beautiful as it does in my mind, as I know that it can, as I fight with the bowl and struggle. There is a cost. Normally I wear a glove on my left hand as I'm holding the gouge, because the chips fly off hard and fast, and sometimes they're hot, sometimes they're sharp. Sometimes the gouge catches on the wood like it did a few minutes ago and pulls me in. It's coming. It's beginning to be shaped. It's beginning to look like I know it can, but I'm still not ready to use the finisher, the smaller red-handled gouge, the one that I know that will scrape just a little bit away, that will make this bowl look as beautiful as it needs to. I'm almost there. I just need to do a little more fine-tuning as we check the depth, as we look to see, where are we? Getting close. It's almost time. Pulling out the red round gouge, I know that this bowl is getting ready. It's getting closer. It hasn't fought me as many others have. In fact, this has been a fairly easy turn, all things considered. Just a few marks, just a few cuts, just a few spaces that need to be trimmed back and shaped. Turning this wood can look peaceful. There is a beauty and a tension that comes with working with wood like this. But I can tell you it's not easy. Every cut takes something from the craftsman. And I'll be honest, shaping hurts more than we like to talk about. That's the story of redemption, isn't it? We resist transformation, and yet the master refuses to let go, even if it means being wounded to bring out our beauty. It's coming into form now. I've got the bottom looking about the way I want it. I'm checking the side walls to make sure I don't blow out the sides. I think it's just about right. And now the hard work really begins. Yeah, the first part was easy. The first part was just bringing it into a rough shape. Now comes the delicate work. Now comes the painful part. Now is when I grab the 60 grit sandpaper. I put on an old beat up glove that has seen better days. And I start to sand. I start to shape, to knock out the tool marks on the outside as I bring it into focus. As I begin to shape, smooth it out, take off the burls, the burrs, bring it into focus. The rough shaping is done, that's true, but there's more. This long work of sanding, bit by grit, is where resilience and faith really comes in. I'm trying to soften the surface, causing the imperfections to fade, as you can see. This is where patience takes over from power. This is a lot like our spiritual life. It's not the dramatic cuts that define us. It's the slow polishing of ordinary days, the quiet obedience, the forgiveness that we don't feel like giving, the grace that takes time to shine through. I spend quite a bit of time with the 60 grit and then the 120. They're the ones that take the most of the rough edges off, that really start to polish it down, knock the tool marks away, and begin to reveal the true piece that I'm trying to create. This is where the patience of the master really comes into play. Notice my gloves are a bit worn. They're worn by many projects, and every single project takes a little bit of these gloves away. In fact, I'm probably going to have to get a new pair here soon. This isn't my first pair and it won't be my last. The fingers are torn. Every time I press the sandpaper into the bottom of the bowl, it wears a little bit. The heat builds up, the resistance pushes back, and my fingers burn a little. Sometimes it twists me. Sometimes it moves me in a direction that I don't want to go because the bowl is just being, well, a block of wood. It doesn't want to be a bowl. I'm shaping and I'm turning, trying to bring out what I know this block of wood can be, using patience, perseverance, and love that is the master craftsman as he is shaping me. I'm turning and shaping and sanding. I have my headphones in and I'm listening to a bit of music. I'm reminded of C.S. Lewis in his series, The Chronicles of Narnia. I just finished reading the first book again, The Magician's Nephew. My favorite part in that book is when Diggory and the little girl end up in the beginning of Narnia, before it's actually created, when they meet Aslan the first time, and how he's singing the land into life. And I wonder, as the Lord is shaping me, as Jesus is working on knocking off the tool marks and shaping me into what he knows that I can be, what music is he singing? What tune is he humming? I wonder if it's something that he'll ever share. Know that many aspects of creation have a sound all their own, much like the sound of this lathe and the sandpaper as it's moving across the bowl. As I'm bringing this down now to 320, as the grit is getting tighter and tighter, as I'm beginning to really polish this bowl into a place that it's going to be truly shining. I wonder about the sound the master is making. It's getting close now. I'm bringing it down to tighter and tighter grits. As I'm moving into 400 and the bowl is still turning at 2,900 RPM. I really want to see what it looks like. But it's time to begin the final polish, the 800 and then 1,000 grit. And then the bowl will be done. And then the piece that is almost ready will be complete and ready for the life that I want to breathe into it. I can honestly say that this next step is my favorite part. It's the part where the bowl actually comes alive. It's the time that I take the oil and I slowly apply. It's what I'm really waiting for. It may be hard to tell because it's spinning so fast, but it's polished as much as it can. And as we see, the grain is just beautiful. It could be more. There's more to it than just what I see. It's waiting to be brought to life. While there's still a few imperfections, as you can see, it's as done as it can be. And now comes the time where the oil breathes life into the bowl. I turn it down to about 500 RPM. Slowly I apply the oil and you can see color and the shine come out. It's even more dramatic when I do the inside. Can't quite tell, but you'll see in a moment the difference as the piece is about to be finished. This is the bowl that I had in mind when I first started. When I first put that block of wood, square and angular, as I first began to carve away, piece by piece, chip by chip. This is the beauty that I wanted to bring out. It reminds me of a passage in Scripture that he gives beauty for ashes. This is the bowl. There was a block of wood. This is a piece of beauty. Now comes the second piece. The first one, Padauk, it was a perfect square. It had solid grain, and there was really no surprises for the most part, just a few hiccups here and there. It was a good piece to warm up on. Gouge, as you could tell, slides clean, and the form really reveals itself fairly quickly. But even with the easy wood, shaping takes trust, pressure, patience, and a willingness to keep your hand steady when the tool wants to bite deep. That's how God works with some of us. Smooth grain and a willing heart. The shape comes easy. Resistance is still there, but the yield comes quicker. Even then, every pass of the chisel costs something, as I mentioned. It costs something to the wood and the one holding the tool. Here's the second one. A leftover piece of walnut from another project. It's not really square, not really pretty. There are blemishes and a knot hole near the edge. That one threatens to tear the wood itself apart if I push too hard. I don't like to throw any piece of wood away, and I knew there was something about this piece that could be beautiful, but it's going to take a minute. It's going to take some time. But I have to do a different type of turning. It has to be slow and steady. You can see the edges and you can see the marks. This is not a beautiful piece of wood to start off with. I have to go slower. I have to use a lighter touch. I have to be gentle. I have to learn the grain. I have to find its weaknesses. I have to look for its stubborn streaks. I think about how many of us feel like this piece of walnut, rough from the start, shaped by life in strange ways. We've got holes where we didn't really want them and wish that weren't there. The edges that don't really want to stay true. Nice thing about the master is he doesn't throw away anything. There is no real flawed wood. They're just wood, ready to be shaped by his hands. He adapts. He adapts his hands to each piece. Because there is no meaningless piece. There is no piece of wood you can't make beautiful if the wood is even slightly willing. Sometimes the most beautiful curve comes from working around scars instead of cutting away. God's not always trying to erase what's broken. He's trying to redeem it. I'm at a point now where it's almost round. We're almost ready to start the inner work. But I've still got to make sure the bottom is ready. I still have to try to get that leading edge just right. It's not easy. I wonder how many of us are shaped like this. I wonder how many of us ask the master to pause because the shaping is too painful. In this case, obviously the wood doesn't speak to me, not like we speak to the master. And I know there are times when I have really wanted him to pause, to give me a break, to let me just rest, to turn off the lathe, if you will, and me just breathe for a moment. I'm still trimming down the outer edge. The roughness of the original piece is being knocked away. It's almost ready. You can see now it's about as round as it's going to be, but there's that knot right there. There's that chink in the edge. I'm not really sure how I'm going to handle that, but I can tell you this. I need to start going in the middle. I'm going to have to be careful because that knot, that blemish, if I did it just wrong, if the gouge hits it in the wrong way, it could shatter this piece of wood completely. And I don't want that to happen. I know this piece of forgotten off-cut wood that, well, I don't think anybody would have thought twice about. This piece of wood is going to be something. I know it. Sometimes I'll take an aggressive stance when I'm cutting into the center, trying to prepare the piece to become a bowl. But not in this case. I'm taking it slow, just a little bit, piece by piece. I'm trying to bring it to a place that I can really go deep. You see the blemish that's there, and I'm trying to avoid it. I'm not quite ready to deal with that yet. I need to get the bottom as deep as it needs to be before I start fooling with that piece. It's making me worried, concerned, because I want this bowl to be beautiful. I tell you, there's something about Kentucky walnut. It's some of the most beautiful wood that I've ever turned. It has a fragrant aroma that just fills the air around it, and I love every second of this. But I'm still a little nervous. I'm still a little afraid that my gouge is going to go too deep, that I'm going to cut at the wrong angle. But I take it down a little further. I go a little deeper. I'm still not quite ready to fully tackle that blemish, that knot, the imperfection, if you will, that goes all the way through the wood. I know that that knot will make this piece unique. It will make this piece even more beautiful if I can just work around it. I'm coming to the very edge of it now, and I'm just nervous. I'm trying to trim a little bit off the face, just take a little bit away, but every swipe of the gouge, I'm worried that it's going to dig just too deep, and well, then it'll be done. And then this piece won't be good for a whole lot of anything except for the fire pit. And I'm not ready to give up on this piece yet. I want to make this into something that's going to be truly beautiful. The thing about woodworking is this patience. You've got to constantly reach set. You've got to constantly stop and check and poke and prod. And that's what I'm doing. Just checking, trying to go at an angle. I'm trying to give it just a little more flavor, a little more flair. Not yet ready to dig deep into that blemish, but I think I can take some of it away and still leave a bit of the character. That's the thing about turning wood. You don't always want to take away the scars and the knots. You want to work with them, because that's what makes this piece truly beautiful, truly unique. Because I'm trying to bring not just the grain out, but the character, the flavor. But I still want to make it a bowl that's going to be beautiful, a bowl that's going to sit on somebody's table and be a conversation piece. I wish that my skill were greater. This is where I know I'm just not the master. I do pull my shaper gouge, the rounded over one that is going to bring the bottom and the side wall where it needs to be. I'm going to leave the edge for now, but I'm going to dig underneath it if I can. I'm going to try to bring it into shape the way it needs to. It's catching a little bit, and it is causing some problems. That's the problem with this rounded gouge is sometimes it catches the grain just wrong, and I have to be very careful and slow and just take a thin sliver off each pass. You can see each pass I'm pulling. And there's still some marks I'm making in the bottom. This is not an easy process, but it's a necessary one. It's a windy morning here in Kentucky. The clouds are passing above the sun, and the wind is blowing. My nose is getting cold. And I'm wondering how much longer I'll be able to be out here before I need to go in and warm up. But I'm not yet ready to finish with this. As the sun comes back out and I can see a little better, I try to scrape away the inside edge. I want to make this into just an interesting edge inside. Something with a little more character, a little more flavor. I think I'm ready for the 60 grit. I've got my old beat up glove back on again and trying to take away some of the tool marks, some of those imperfections, those mars, the problems that were on the outside. Still not quite ready to face and tackle fully that blemish, with the sandpaper. Every time the sandpaper passes over there, I can hear it clicking. I can hear it hitting. With my fingers are trying to hold the sandpaper where it needs to be. I'm feeling the roughness underneath my hands. It's time. I can feel it, my thumb. I know it's there. It hurts just a little bit, and I need to get the block in there because, well, it needs to be sanded, and it hurts a little. I decided to take a break and go for the inside to clean up the damage that hollowing it out occurred. As I begin to shape and stop and feel and touch, I'm really going into a section that I'm not really sure how it's going to turn out, but I'm fairly confident that we're past the danger zone. But there's always a chance that it just won't work right. I wonder how many times the master has stopped the lathe and leaned in to blow away the dust on me, to bring me into that right position, to help me see with more clear eyes. I'm still using the tough sandpaper, the sandpaper that's going to take a lot material out in comparison to some of the other pieces that I'll be using. Moved down to the 120. It's not moving as much sawdust, but it's still there. The smell is even better now. Spending a little bit of time on the marks, the nooks and the crannies. I want it to shape right. And I don't want the scars to go away. I don't want to sand them out completely. I could. It would take more time. It would take a lot more sandpaper. It would take a lot more effort on my part, but in the end, I wouldn't really have a bowl. The shape that I want this bowl to be in. And I know that it can go deeper into this bowl as my fingers get burnt and as the sandpaper rubs away even more of my glove. I know it's going to be beautiful. It's just going to take a little time. Taking a moment to pause and really look at it, I can see the scars are still there. I'm happy because I know that the scars are going to stay now. I'm getting into the smaller and tighter grits. I'm working closer and closer to that 800 and 1,000 grit. That place when it's going to be truly polished, but it's not easy. You can see the light glinting off, but the scars are still there, both inside and out. I think this bowl might turn out to be one of my favorites. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with it in the end, but it doesn't matter. Each bowl I make is different and unique, and this is no different. We're at the point where 800 grit is what's needed. It's a polishing, it's a fine-tuning. I could probably stop now and hardly anyone would know the difference, but I would. I like to take my bowls down to 1,000, if I can. I like the way they polish up. I like the way they absorb the oil. As you move into the final piece, we're almost there. Almost ready. We're almost ready to breathe life into this bowl. Think about Adam. As God finished the shaping and the crafting, as he was ready to breathe life into that soul, after what used to be dust is now a man. You can see as the oil begins to take, the scars are still there. They're clear. They're not taking the oil as well, but it will. It'll just take a little more time. I'm slowly applying the oil from front to back. I'm not yet ready for the inside. I want to get the outside looking good, polished up, almost ready to move inside. Love the way the bowl feels as I watch it shine, and I wonder how the master felt. You can see the light hitting off of it as it spins, and you can still see the imperfections, the scars. I'm not done with those yet. I will be. I have to stop the lathe from spinning to make them really right. Bowl is almost finished. 2 bowls, one simple, one scarred, both beautiful for different reasons. Maybe the lesson today isn't about how we're shaped, but about the love of the craftsman who refuses to stop turning, who sees beauty in the flawed, who counts the cost worth paying. So if life feels like you're spinning on a lathe and like you're feeling the cut, the chisel, take heart. You're not being destroyed. You're being revealed. In the shop, as in the soul, formation takes friction. Beauty costs the hands that make it. Sometimes I know I feel like the edge of the chisel is pushing into my life right now, that I'm spinning. It's at times like that that I remember that he really is shaping something beautiful, even if that shaping hurts. Resistance means you're still being worked. The cost means he hasn't given up. You're still in his hands, and that's the safest, the most dangerous, and most beautiful place to be. If something I've said today resonates with you, drop it in the comment section. Like and subscribe, and maybe even share this video with a friend. Sometimes you just have to remember what his love really means and what he's really trying to do with us. Until next week, keep the coffee hot, the faith real, and the conversation flowing.